Thank
Thank you, Betty.
you. So good morning and good evening and good day and whatever to all of you. I know, like with Sabine and Johannes, they're at 4 a.m. They're doing a lot better, making the efforts so the grace should come their way. Now, Jaysima, you could put that letter, that email I sent.
Okay, sure.
And maybe Marion, if you could read that, I think it's the second paragraph, if it's handy for you to be able to do.
Oh, I didn't get my book out because I thought you were going to put it on screen. Oh.
Yeah, it'll be coming on the screen in a second.
Oh.
And start with in working to dispel veils on that second paragraph. Second sentence.
Let's see, I'm looking.
See the second, see where he's going.
Should I begin?
In working to dispel the veils.
Oh, I see. Yes. And how far shall I read? Till the end?
And yeah, just go, I'll tell you when.
All right, fine. Thank you. In working to dispel the veils over his consciousness, Darwin was very proactive. He attended to every thought and emotion that appeared in his awareness. He would talk about being extremely alert, but relaxed, to the faintest tremor of anger in us, the first sinking of fear, or the moment the wanting machine, his term, starts up in us. That is, picking up the first signs of emotions and desires with our awareness before they flow downstream, so to speak, and are picked up and greatly complicated by the mind and emotions, by thoughts and other desires. As soon as the mind and emotion enter the picture, we are thrown into the illusory world of time and space. But when picked up at an early stage, these first tremors can be given inwardly and energetically to Baba, where he dissolves them, or countered by our better angels, the divinely human qualities within us. A stain can be removed much easier if done immediately. By making these efforts, we are not victims of any and every impulse that enters us. I have found this over my life to be immensely helpful in maintaining an inner harmony.
And go ahead, read that too.
I am reminded of this Cherokee teaching story. An elderly Cherokee man was teaching his grandchildren about life. He said to them, "A fight is going on inside of me. It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One wolf is fear, anger, envy, sorrow, regret, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other wolf is joy, peace, love, hope, sharing, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, friendship, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside of you and inside of every other person too." They thought about it for a minute, and then one child asked his grandfather, "Which wolf can win?" The old Cherokee replied, the one you feed.
Thank you. I would like that. And in a certain way, we're doing that. And I was reminded of something else from Darwin. You know, I was young when I lived up there near Darwin and Jean Shaw in upstate New York, and Darwin was very helpful to me in dealing with thoughts. At the time, I felt that thoughts were just inevitable, you know, like a ticker tape going by before my consciousness from morning till night. But, you know, that this was just inevitable and that was just part of life. But kind of switching metaphors, Darwin taught me the trains of thought go by all day, but rather than hopping aboard, I learned from him to watch them go by. And in doing so, in time, the train would slow down, and I could see between the train cars glimpses of the magnificent countryside on the other side of the tracks. Or you might say, between thoughts, I began to see the exquisite beauty of the inner landscape of the heart and feel Baba's presence. I don't know if that metaphor works, but between thoughts, you can look in, not looking through the lens of thought into the heart, but through just awareness itself. And so, so that, you know, previously it was kind of blocked by the stream of thoughts going by. So this is what I feel about Darwin means by dispelling the veils that cloud our inner vision. So I just thought I would say that as an introduction. Now, let's see. So anybody, let's have Sri, do you have the book there with you that you can read? Well, we'll have Jaysima will he will post it there.
The Dispelling Veils section.
Yeah, yep.
Dispelling Veils. Harboring our own thoughts, feelings, and desires, and thinking that they do not hurt anyone because they are just something that we keep to ourselves. This is how we maintain veils, and it is hurting us within. So we have to work on our false selves at interior levels and clear away anything that is maintaining or creating veils. Dispelling veils involves altering our thinking and feeling in favor of the truth. This is part of taking our stand upon the truth as Baba advocates. If we are unsure as to how to get underway in dispelling veils, we can follow the simple criterion Baba has given us to work from. It goes something like, do anything that you would not mind in doing in front of Baba. Say anything you would not mind say anything you would not mind saying in front of Baba. And think anything you would not mind thinking in front of Baba. I feel that we must try to work toward purity and openness of heart, as well as toward such qualities as self-confidence and self-esteem. It is a matter of choice, and we are making choices every minute of our lives. Of course, I am referring to sincere spiritual seekers who are willing and who realize they must make an effort to get spiritual enlightenment. Some of these choices are seemingly unimportant, but they are perhaps really critical because a thin sanskaric thread can become a string and then a rope, and before we know it, we are hogtied by it. Eventually, we will learn how to head off binding thoughts and feelings at their finest, most subtle indication, even before they can become threads. As we work to tear down the veils, we begin to enjoy the spiritual life within because the heart gets free of turbulence and darkness, and we become increasingly aware of the divine presence. Eventually, we will come to the final closing down of the veil-making machine because we will realize that we are already complete. With that completeness comes fulfillment and bliss. This comes about through a gradual withdrawing of the consciousness from the gross level of duality.
Okay, thank you. Anyone to say something to that? Any questions? But as I said, Darwin was very specific, very disciplined about not just letting thoughts pile up. It's like he used to talk about like junk food, you know. You can eat junk food for a good while, and after a while, it starts to affect your health. So you want to have valuable and healthy thoughts happening, and not just any old thing that goes along. Any questions? Oh, I see. Roxy, go. How about asking that question?
Sure. I asked how much of this clouding or veils are impacted by our physical body and what we eat. Because I've experimented many times on how much sugar has an adverse effect on what wolf I feed, which wolf I feed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that I'm sure varies from person to person, you know, and then you find out what kind of I mean, this is, you know, this is one aspect of it, is kind of being healthy and eating the proper things so that your consciousness isn't pulled away, having to monitor your health all the time, and it's freed up to focus on deeper things. So definitely our diet plays in there, and if you get too sluggish physically, it affects your mood for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, when you go on these 10, sorry?
Darwin actually used to work out, I mean, and jog and everything, way into the 80s, I think. You know, so he would come down here in March when the ocean was less than 55 degrees around the mid-March and dive in the ocean. I mean, we wait until June usually. Anyway,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
Rich. I've had a kind of a blasé day, but in the last, I don't know, sentence or two, Darwin says, increasingly aware of divine presence. And I think for me, that's the key to this this work, this spiritual work. And the reason I say this because if you don't have, say, something you love, like I was a mechanic, and after a while, I learned that I really enjoyed just taking a wrench, swinging a hammer, lubricating, you know, seeing the whole vehicle at once and knowing what I had to do, and I could do it, and I was confident in all this. But so there was a certain joy in that, and of course, attachment, right? So I've got a garage full of tools, and I look at them going, I'm getting too old to do what I want to do. But in the middle of all that, you have to replace that sanskaric drive. And what do you replace it with? Because the mind cannot grasp God. The mind cannot conceive of God. The mind cannot create God. So in the middle of this, the only pathway is Baba. Only Baba can do that with you and for you. But that's what Darwin keeps alluding to, is that as long as you're doing that work, sooner or later, you'll find, oh, hey, there's my friend, the companion. Yeah, Meher Baba. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, when the mind kind of begins to lift and the heart awakens, then you have that abiding presence, you know. But the emotions get in the way also. They are a veil. All the emotions and desires, even after you kind of get some detachment from thought, you know, then there's the next, at least I found the next level of veils, which are emotional and the desire nature. Anything else to say? Oh, here we are. Marion, go ahead.
Okay. This is making me kind of laugh, and I haven't been feeling very laughable lately. And that is, even though I say Baba's name and all, is I'm in New York City, and a lot of things going on here when I go out for errands and stuff, and being on the street of New York City, you can see a whole spectrum of all kinds of behavior here. And so one of my favorite inner words is to call people idiots. And So I'm kind of attached to that one. And so even though I'm saying Baba's name, sometimes my mind chatter starts pushing Baba's name in the background rather than Baba's name pushing the chatter in the background. So then I know I need to I say the Master's Prayer and the Prayer of Repentance because Baba's name is always running in me while I'm saying it. And so somewhere, and I'm paraphrasing this, somewhere along the way, someone told me that the prayer of repentance said sincerely stops any kind of unnatural sanskaras from being formed. And I just kind of remember something like that. So what's been happening has made me smile just now and hearing everything is that when I'm sort of running my negative reactions to people around me, some of the stuff that goes on the streets that I see here that is so weird and outrageous is that in the prayer, about selfishness and hatred and wishing others harm and everything that's in the prayer of repentance, as I'm saying it, I have to stop and say, Bob, yes, I did that with that person, Baba. Yes, I did send that nasty thought to that person. And it's because it's lightened up. It's helped me kind of lighten up. And I'm so grateful for that because I still have that running, some of that nastiness. And it just kind of really helps me so much lighten up with it.
Yeah. I mean, there's that ticker tape of thoughts going by and and over time though, the mind quiets down, thank God. Okay. Any other thing to say to that? Let's go on to the light of grace. How about Josh? Have you got a book there in front of you? Well, it'll come up.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to read. No book though. Let's do it.
You got it right there.
Okay. A great many ambient factors are involved in the withdrawal of consciousness from the dual realm. It would be impossible to mention all of them. However, one of the most important factors is the grace of the Master. Divine grace is a power or force of light that can dispel, even altogether eliminate ignorance or falsehood. It can dissolve darkness, erroneous thoughts, and complexes within one's consciousness. Sometimes we have to direct the light of grace into various areas within our hearts, in other words, at the subjective level. By this, I mean that instead of assuming that grace will take care of everything, we are actively accepting the intervention of divine grace as a great light.
Whoops. I'll continue until Josh comes. A great light that will dispel the darkness within us. If one is conscious of the heart center, then one hopefully has enough inner vision to realize where one needs help. And one can oversee, to a certain extent, the working of grace in helping one's own heart center by shining the light of truth on it. It is like directing a light onto a particular dark spot, which then makes it light. However, it is difficult to generalize because as individuals, we have our own individual dark and light spots, and they are not all the same. The Master reveals to us as individuals where we can clean out our Augean stables, a little here, a little there. In his own way, he reveals where our mistaken analysis and judgment have led us to wrong conclusions. At least that has been my experience. And I find that when I feel a surging force, the energy of divine grace, I am able to direct it where it is needed the most. It is like a continuous gift, but it needs direction in order to counteract specific limitations and bindings. Is anyone aware of that kind of process? Oh, first, we'll go ahead here.
Marta?
Yes, I don't understand how you can direct grace to something within yourself. Wouldn't Baba know how to direct his own grace?
Ah, what, oh, just a second, someone is arriving here. Just a sec. Goer, can you take over? Someone is arriving and I'm gonna sign them in.
Sure.
Poor Goyer.
I know, I've been put on the spot here, but anyway, I will try. Marta, you were saying, so please continue.
Yes, I was asking, I don't understand how I can direct grace to a specific part of myself. Wouldn't Baba know where to direct the grace? But Darwin says here something about direct it where you need it the most. It is like a continuous gift, but it needs direction in order to counteract specific limitations and bindings. I don't have any concept of how I can direct Baba's grace to my limitations. My point is, wouldn't Baba just direct it?
I think
Just a
if you,
thought.
yeah, so just reflecting on what you just said, I think if you become aware of where you need that grace to be directed, then he himself will internalize that grace towards that area that needs work, that needs to be worked on. So I think if, again, just being aware of it and leaving it to him, the grace then will come forward and help you. Baba in his own way will direct that grace to that area where you need it to go.
Okay,
So
thank you.
that's-
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong, but my take on it.
Thank you.
So, anyone else? As Jeff would say. So,
Rich.
Rich.
No, I agree with Marta. That's a tough one because what I have experienced is sort of what you were saying, Goer. It's not until I become aware of some ignorant trait, something that I hold on to just unconsciously. Hey, that's who I am. Take it or leave it. It's like, and then it turns out it's not so pretty. But somehow, how do you get there? Like Marta was saying, it's rely on Baba, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, you have to leave it to him. You have to know that he's going to be there to take over and help you with whatever you need, in whichever area you need help in. So just to be aware of it is a big thing. And we are so fortunate to have awareness, to be in his orbit, is to have that awareness. So.
Marian.
Shri, I think you're up next.
I guess it was Marian.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
oh, did you say Marion?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you. Yes, I just to add to what you were saying, these comments. I agree because Mayor Baba has given us the knowledge that we have a mental body, a subtle body, and a gross body. And so, what I call, it's just what one of you said just right now. The first thing is to be aware of it, that something is blocked. And then I have what I call my toolbox, and everybody's different with their toolbox. So mine is these different methods to first look at my beliefs. What's going on up there, my beliefs? What does this reflect to me? And then how to unclog my subtle body, because that's the energy body. So I've learned core energetics, and I've learned all these ways, and psychodrama, and all these ways to unclog my subtle body so that my gross body then is open and flowing. So for me, it's developing and having my toolbox to open mental, physical, and emotional and the gross body. So that may sound a little abstract, but I'm so grateful I have all these tools to unclog. So I call it unclogging. So if there's some area of my life that it reflecting back to me has something that is not flowing in it, then I want to look within. Hey, where am I clogged up in my belief system and in my energy? And the body is the truth teller. The body, yeah. How's my body?
Yeah, we each have our different ways of dealing with it. So that's just fine. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So.
Jennifer. Jennifer. You are on mute, Jennifer.
Yeah, I know. Okay, here I am. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Unlike Marta, this section, it's kind of like the same question I had last time we were together reading about, he seems to have, Darwin has these ways of doing things, and yet I have trouble interpreting them to my life. And this about directing, sounds like kind of directing the light, picturing it going somewhere specific for grace. The only thing that I could relate it to is sometimes when I'm getting ready to make a comment that isn't necessarily of the best or the highest good, or a thought that comes up, sometimes I can almost feel it coming on before anything comes out. And that's the only time I can think of myself when I could maybe direct myself asking Baba for help with this before it kind of gets out of control. That's the only way I can think of for me at this point about the directing, is as an emotion or as maybe a not very well-formed thought and a reaction. If I can be able to take that moment to ask for help, and that to me is more of the direction. So that's all I have.
Yeah, excellent.
Peter.
All right, thank you. When I heard the question, to me, the answer is a no-brainer. And I'm a little woozy right now because I just woke up and the atmosphere is a little bit chaotic, but I'll try to put my words as close together as I possibly can. There are many ways to heal. There are many ways to heal, many healing communities, as I'll call them. And there's a protocol on how to heal. I mean, there's healing communities for alcoholism, there's healing communities for compulsive debting, there's healing communities for compulsive gambling, and on and on and on, even if you just go to therapy. And one simple way I've learned to bring Baba's grace or direct his grace is something that someone taught me a long time ago, which is the only thing we need to do to recover is learn how to follow directions. When I go to a healing community, I find someone that knows what they're doing and simply follow those directions. In certain books, there's steps 1 through whatever. And when consider these directions to be Mayor Baba, another version of Mayor Baba. And when we follow those directions, it's just that gosh darn simple. That is directing his light onto a specific issue. I remember when I went to one of the healing communities, one of the steps was 160 something questions long. It was huge. Now, how do I direct Baba's grace? It's like he's directing it for me. It's to answer question 1. That's where his grace is directing me. Wives, it's all Baba. I read the question, I answer the question. Number 2, I read the question, I answer the question. Number 3, I read the question, I answer the question. It boils down to being that simple. When I went to a therapist, following those directions, and what we can do is remember, but I don't want to say bring him into the session because he's already there. He's already there. That's to me a no-brainer. It's remembering him in the session, dedicating that session to him. And then at the end of the session, again, remembering him in the session. It's to me, the question, the answer is a no-brainer to me. It's wherever we go to get help or to get the healing is to follow the directions and knowing that the directions are him. And sometimes, how do I say this? If we find them to be faulty, if we find that the directions are not as proper for us, we can always stop and go somewhere else where they feel right to us, where we feel his presence more. But again, I go back to, it's just like in a place like AA, how do you feel Baba's presence with alcoholism? It's real simple. Follow the steps. From 1 through 12, it is that simple, but that's why it's that difficult for people. That's how to direct his grace, is simply to follow the steps as they're laid before us. One way to follow his grace, follow his wish. It's that simple. Not saying it's easy, but it's that simple. And I'll cut it off there. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent, really. Yeah. Beautiful. I mean, that yeah, that if you take it as coming from Bob and you're working and you bring him into it, or he reveals himself into it, you're definitely going to gradually be transformed. Yeah. Next.
3.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of these calls, aside from getting to meet all you lovely people in the first place, is learn how everyone deals with their own struggles individually, and that it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And for me, I think a lot of it comes down to when you realize you're like down in the dumps and you're in a bad mental space, or you realize something about yourself you don't like. I think the most effective tool, and I think this is Baba's way of showing his divine grace to me, is that reminder that I am him. And I don't think anything is more empowering than that realization, especially when you feel the crappiest about yourself. And lately I've gone through a lot of periods where I'm just like, well, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I here? Maybe I'm not doing what I want to be doing. And on a surface level and from like a material point of view, I have a great life, and I'm very grateful for the life that I do have. But I felt like that inner fulfillment wasn't happening, or wasn't occurring, or currently isn't occurring. And today I was kind of just sitting outside, and I was like, honestly, I was kind of getting mad at Baba. I was like, you say that the best way for me to love you is to do exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, to not like give up my duties in life and, you know, go live in Maribot or at Myrtle Beach and, you know, kind of spend the rest of my life in service or whatever. You're telling, and I was kind of mad at him. I was like, you're telling me that if I wanted to love you the way that I want to love you, then that's bad. And that you want me to love you the way that you want to be loved, which is people not forgoing their like worldly duties. And I was kind of just getting mad. And then I realized it didn't matter at the end of the day, because in either situation, I'm still him. And his energy is flowing within me, and within all of us. And I think for me, that was that spark, or that realization, whatever moment that like thought came into my head, to me, that was a version of his grace kind of entering my mental thought bubble. And it really helped clear up a fog that's kind of been over my head the past few weeks. And it's something that I've struggled with for a while, but there's this one quote in Discourses or sentence where he just says, being is dying by loving. And to me, again, like that's all he wants you to do. And I think in those moments where you're feeling really bad, the best thing that you can do is, one, don't be too hard on yourself and love yourself, because at the end of the day, he loves you no matter what. So you should love yourself no matter what. And two, whatever you're going through, whatever you do, or however you react to a certain situation that you're not proud of, realize that he made you act in a certain way for you to have a certain realization, even if you don't know it now.
Excellent. Yeah, and you know, I know Baba's sister used to say, you have to see things through Baba's eyes. And meaning that through his eyes, what all these efforts that you're making, or that we are making, mean the world to Baba. they may not be up to our level and our standards, but just imagine from Baba. Baba appreciates the fact that you're even struggling to remember him or hit the right note or align yourself. That means the world to him, even though we're falling short of what we would like, but I mean, so that's, I always tap into that he really appreciates that you wake up and you're trying to live your day for him. Yeah. Excellent. Let's see.
Ron?
One of my favorite Baba quotes has to do with doing. And what do we do? What should we do? And I tend not to ask Baba what to do, but in this particular quote, he doesn't get into like so much what to do, but how to do. And so that's why it's one of my favorites, because he leaves that type of creativity up to us individually to experiment with whatever we want to see. And if he's pleased, he might show us. If he's displeased, there's a good chance he'll let us know about that, especially if you are open to it. So here's the quote. And this is from a great book with a great name. It's called Practical Spirituality. And goes like this: do whatever needs to be done, but do it as a spiritual being, as one who knows he is divine by nature and unlimited with the whole of life in essence. Do it. Huh?
I think it's united with the whole of life in essence.
Well, I have unlimited.
Oh, okay.
Anyhow, it's written on this quote here. And then it goes, do it as if you were doing it for me or for God. And then this is my favorite specific one, where he says, do it with equal consideration for the interests of all concerned, for God is equally in each. And do it with utmost concentration, yet with utter detachment for the results of action. Leave the fruit of action to me or to God. Do it as if it were the most important thing in the universe, yet let it be destroyed or ignored, ridiculed without concern, or let it be praised without elation. Leave the response to me or to God. Do it, in short, as if you were not doing it at all, but as if I or God were doing it through you. And then I'll return to this one line here. Do it as if you were doing it. And I'm stressing as if you were doing it for me or for God. Use your imagination as if you were doing it for me or for God. Anyhow.
Yeah, that's one of the most beautiful quotes.
Yeah, I love that quote.
Really like that.
I made it into a song.
Where did that quote come from? Where did that come from?
Spirituality.
Practical spirituality. Can you play the song, or later get your guitar out and play it?
Sure, I could actually do it a cappella. There's a significant amount of repetition to make it, but I could do that. I'll do it later.
Get your guitar as well.
All right. Okay.
And will you come back?
All right. Yeah.
By the time you come back, but it's one of the most helpful quotes I've found. Going back to what Darwin was saying about when you feel that surge of that vitality and grace within you, I mean, what I do, and, you know, from what I gather from Darwin, is that, say, suppose you have some deep anxiety. Well, you can take that surge of vitality and grace and focus it on your anxiety and just kind of blast away at it for as long as that vitality is there. So you pick some of your weaknesses and everything when you're in a particularly heightened state, and you can kind of blast away some of the debris.
Can he reread the quote? Can he reread that? Can he reread it?
Oh, he's going to sing it.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. You got your guitar there, Ronnie?
All right, let me change this. Okay. Do whatever needs to be done, but do it as a spiritual being. Do it as if you know. Do whatever needs to be done, but do it as a spiritual being. As one who knows he is divine by nature and unlimited with the whole of life in essence. Do whatever needs to be done, but do it as a spiritual being. Yeah, do it. Do it as if you were doing it for me or for God. Do it as if you were doing it for me or for God. And do it with equal consideration for the interests of all concerned. Do it with equal consideration for the interests of all concerned. For God is equally in each. God is equally in each. Do whatever needs to be done, but do it as a spiritual being. And do it with utmost concentration, yet with utter detachment for results. Do it with utmost concentration, yet with utter detachment for results. Leave the fruit of action to me or to God. Leave the fruit of action to me or to God. Do whatever needs to be done, but do it as a spiritual being. Hey, 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 do it. Do it as if you were doing it for me or for God. Do it as if you were doing it for me or for God. And do it as if it were the most important thing in the universe. Yeah, do it as if it were the most important thing in the universe. Yet let it be destroyed or ignored, ridiculed without concern, or let it be praised without elation. Leave the response to me or to God. And do it in short as if you were not doing it at all. And do it in short as if you were not doing it at all. But as if I or God were doing it through you, doing it through you. Do it as if you were doing it for me or for God. Yeah, do it as if you were doing it for me or for God. Do it as if you were doing it as if you were doing it, as if you were doing it for me or for God.
Great, beautiful. I mean, that is so, it's just one of my favorite quotes. Baba says it all there. Okay, I guess, let's see. What's the next one is love through grace, is it? Jayseema, let's see. Okay, let's see. How about Marta?
It is the master's inestimable great gift of grace when we are aware of it that inspires our own love for him more and more. And this awakens more insight, intuition, and inner level awareness, and even awakens us to the prospect of actually merging by degrees with his consciousness. But our love for him should be without wanting and without bargaining. We love him just because he is most lovable. His loving force of grace is an essential part of our inner awareness. And we are being sustained by grace. As individuals, we will find salvation through grace, not through our merits. But thereby, as we clear out the veils, we can rest in a deep inner state of peace and harmony, because we will see that we already have security and sanctuary in the Master's love and grace. For that, of course, we are very grateful. That's for sure.
Yeah, beautiful, beautifully read. And I mean, is there anyone have anything to say to that? It's I mean, this book is about, it's one of the major paths with Baba. It's not the only one, but it's about becoming aware of the inner landscape as you move toward merging with Baba, you might say. There are other approaches, but this is one that Darwin is sharing with us. And awakening these inner awareness and faculties so that we can kind of get some sense of what road to take, what roads, inner roads lead to the deeper realm, and what roads kind of are sidetracks and wind us up in Newark, New Jersey, or wherever. No, can't do that. Somebody, oh yeah, sure, you used to be up in New Jersey. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I lived there for all my life until like 8 months ago.
Okay. Okay, anything to
World's
say?
worst airport. World's worst airport.
Does anybody have anything to say to that, or shall we move on to stopping the veil making machine, which is a nice long, oh yeah. If I finally, if I go blank here, it's because I forgot my power cord. So.
Hey, Jeff, I thought the part in that last section that is so important, I feel, is the thing about wanting. And Baba makes a big deal about that, and about our happiness coming from not wanting, and our unhappiness coming from our own wanting. And I kind of think that, like if somebody were to say, well, what do you do with, as a Baba lover, what's your practice? There's a couple of things come to mind. One, the most important one is to remember Baba, try to remember Baba more than I remember myself. more and more. And one of the other things is to try to please Baba more than I please myself, which has to do with wanting. If I just want what he wants, what he would want in every moment, in every situation, then I don't have to think about wanting. I'm only thinking about what he might want. It has nothing to do with what I want, and then they kind of don't come around and bother me anymore.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I mean, Darwin stresses that we are already complete. And we have some needs, but the wants are really unnecessary. And that feeling of, over time, you get more and more of a feeling of completeness. You just don't need that success. You don't need that fancy house. You don't, you know, you don't have to get away from Newark, New Jersey. You know, you can accept where you are, and there's not, you're not in the present moment wishing you were in some other place or some other moment. And that feeling of completeness begins to grow. And which is
being where you are. Baba made a big issue about that with Delia. If you've read her letters back and forth to Baba, you know, these people wanted to be near Baba. They wanted his presence, and they wanted to be in his presence. And he said, "You're closer to me by being where you are than if you were here with me. If it's, you know, because my wish is for you to be where you are. You're closer to me."
Yeah, like Kitty was so, whatever, so profoundly affected. Uh-oh, it says your Mac will sleep soon unless plugged into a power outlet. Uh-oh. Hey, let's go quick. Go ahead, Marta. I'm gonna run.
Just want to say really quick one thing, because we have several young people here, that it's you know, when you're young, you work for something, you want something, you build something, you, whatever your dreams are. There's nothing wrong with it. I think the key is not to be attached to anything. Do everything, have fun, create everything, go for everything, you know, collect everything, but don't be attached to it. I think that's the secret, you know. I just wanted to bring that up because I didn't want it to sound like, you know, anything that we have to give up everything to be with Baba. Baba wants us to enjoy everything and be delicious and rich and passionate and go for it. But if it goes away, don't be attached. That's the key to all ages, right? Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I have disappeared somehow. I don't know what's happening, but let's go on to that stopping the veil making machine. Uh-oh.
Hey, Jeff, we can see you.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can see me. Okay,
Yeah.
I can see you, but let's go on. I'm going to be gone here in a little bit.
Okay.
But let's finish this. Have someone read this. How about Bob Yeager read that stopping the veil making machine?
Okay. In Meher Baba's omnipotence and care for humanity, his purpose is to raise the consciousness of everyone and everything in creation, and in particular of those who love him. So we have to be prepared to grow within his love. There is a biblical saying that, roughly paraphrased, says, "Unto whom much is given, much shall also be required." If we wish to draw closer to God, we must be prepared for further effacement and heart purification, an emptying of the heart of all our sanskaric veils. This can be very extensive because it challenges the general paradigm that is accepted by everyone, the fundamental misconception that the illusory creation is based upon and the spiritual limitations we are brought up with. So, stopping the veil-making machine is not a matter of armchair theorizing. It is work that is up to us to do. Growing pains are involved as we work our way toward God. But if we finally get fed up with running around the reincarnation wheel time and again, We are going to expedite the process. Otherwise, if we just wait for freedom from the need to reincarnate to happen automatically, it could take ages. Even if we still want to come back to serve the avatar, we want to be able to provide a clear consciousness for his use. But we have to cease limiting ourselves. We have to stop thinking, oh, this can't happen. I won't have liberation for many, many lives. With God, all things are possible. He can actually do anything. Meher Baba, as the avatar, is the incarnation of divine love, and he is above all laws. Nothing can confine or limit divine love, and no law, no set pattern or precedent can restrict him. He is our best friend, and not only our best friend, but also our ally, working with each one of us. He has consummate understanding and insight into the sanskars of each individual, and he really does work within us to expedite our freedom of consciousness. I feel that this is what is going on full strength now that he has dropped his physical body. So,
Bob, stop there for one moment. I'm
okay.
going to be gone, but if Go or if you can continue when I'm gone, that would be nice. Okay, go ahead. Continue, yeah. Go ahead, Bob. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Where did I leave off here?
So as we work to sort out all that next.
He says consummate understanding. So as we work to sort out all this sanskaric determination that is impelling us to reincarnate, and we open ourselves to the Master's grace, he is right there with us, confirming and consolidating our previously acquired intuitions and perceptions, and precipitating our consciousness to higher and freer levels. These levels or layers of consciousness unfold in an orderly progression of 7 steps, from instinct to reason, then inspiration, intuition, insight, illumination, and finally realization of God. In other words, these levels comprise the steps Baba takes us through as he confirms and consolidates the fruits of our efforts. Meher Baba means to liberate us, so let us not inhibit his work by saying, I can't do that now. I'm bound with all these things, and it's going to take ages to grow out of them. Let us not wait for 1,000 years more. It could happen at any time. I feel that we have to accept and believe in the highest possibility in this incarnation. We should not procrastinate, not put it off for another incarnation. The primary point is that we are spirit and we need to become conscious of it. To do this, we have to stop the veil-making machine and dare to forge ahead to form a friendship with the Master within. This is something we can constantly work on. Otherwise, we prolong our suffering, which is what I believe incarnation really is.
So any thoughts on that? Anybody, anyone? What we just read?
The thing that really struck me as I was reading it was this idea that Baba is inside working with me as I try to do this work. I mean, that is so.
It just comes out, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does.
It really, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we have to realize him more and more within us. I think that's what he's trying to bring forth in that lesson. And the more we are aware of him in our lives, the easier our path forward is. So, and the quicker we dispel all the veils that we've created for ourselves. That's what I feel. So, and I have a beautiful quote to end this session with, but I'll save it for the end. So it's just so appropriate, I think. But anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Rich has.
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, I was reading a little more in the creation and its causes. And when Baba is talking to the youth up there, it sort of deals with what Darwin is saying here. Baba says, you have to make the turn. And he uses the word the turn quite a few times, the turn. And it's the same thing that Balkal Shuri mentioned in Avatar of the Age Manifesting. He talked about humanity having their backs in a circle around God the Son, and they're looking outward into the creation, into the abyss, and they have to slowly turn inwards and look at God. And that's what this section reminds me of. When that turn starts happening, it's your job to work with it, I guess, try.
That's right. Very true.
Marta?
Yeah, I just have one last thing. I guess Rich really really put his finger on it. I was going to say, I always think of Baba in my world out there. But when you said think of Baba inside, I don't think of Baba inside me. I think of Baba there, his picture in the world, active. I'm talking to him as out there, as my roommate or something. So maybe Rich saying that, maybe it's time to turn inward, but I don't think about Baba inside of me so much. I mean, Baba says that the infinite God is within us. That's what Baba says. So once in a while, I'll think of that, but it's just in my mind. I can't conceive the infinite God within me. It's just, okay, well, that's a nice thought. Okay, Baba said that's true, so it's true. But to feel that, I don't feel that. So anyway, thanks for phrasing it, and Rich for rephrasing it in such a clear and interesting way.
Ron?
Yeah, what you were saying, let's see, who was saying about the looking in at Baba instead of out toward the world? It reminded me of one of my favorite essays that it doesn't. If you find this essay on the internet, which I highly recommend, I don't want to read the whole thing to you. It's not that long, but it's. I just wanted to describe the basis of it. It's if you look under higher power and tandem bicycle, you'll probably come upon the little anecdotal piece. But what it is the person says their higher power is he's riding on a tandem bicycle. The higher power is on the back seat, and they're steering the bicycle. And sometimes he has to go up a hill, and it's very difficult. And so his higher power helps him to pedal so that he can get up to the hill. And so he loves the fact that the higher power does that. But then at some point, the higher power taps him on the shoulder and he says, let's trade seats. I'm going to sit in the front now, and you're going to sit in the back. And then it really gets exciting, because then the higher power is directing everything and steering the bicycle where he wants to go, and where he knows this fellow who's now in the back pedaling. He's just pedaling now. But then he's always looking ahead. If he looks ahead, there's God right in front of him. So if we stop trying to be the steerer and try to figure out where we need to go, and let him take us where he wants to go, and then we can just pedal. Makes it more simple. Anyhow, I just really like that image.
Jennifer?
That reminds me of Jeff's story. He wrote a poem about being in the front seat, and then Baba was in the back seat, and then he let Baba come up and be the driver and sit in the back seat.
Yeah, I just thought that.
Yeah. That one was so good. It made me I was thinking of a couple of things. One is that sometimes, we describe Baba as the divine beloved. And I think of him as my companion. And also, so I think about that. Oftentimes I think of him as outside of me. It takes more effort for me to think of Baba as living inside of me, like when we were doing the meditations with the heart and that energy moving outward. But a long time ago, when I was in integrative medicine, I had a patient who came to me, and while I was working with her, she fell asleep. And when she woke up, she said, and it's just never left me, she was a Christian, and she said, that was so funny. While I was sleeping, I pictured Jesus, and Jesus was in with a hammer and a chisel, and he was hammering at my heart and breaking up my heart. And
Wow.
yeah, it was the most. So I think about her telling me that story, and I picture, instead of Jesus, of course, I'm picturing Baba. And even though I do picture Baba outside of me, every now and then I get a glimpse of feeling like Baba is chiseling away at my heart, just making some space for me to remember him and be with him, and with him inside with me, as opposed to me thinking of him as outside of me. So that's it. Thank you.
That's great. Yeah.
Gabriela?
I just was thinking about a wonderful Rumi quote that I put at some point to it where it rhymes, but his original probably didn't rhyme, but it says about having Baba inside us. It says, cast your lot with the stillness inside. Union lives beyond the form. Die each time your lover hides. In each reunion be reborn. This is no path for the weak at heart. These are glorious rules for life. Atoms, when split open, release a blinding light.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Shea Baba.
Yeah. I feel in the end, it's all him. See, he's so much a part of us, but we in our individual little limited capacities, we don't realize that. But in the end, it's all him. It really is. And I'll just end with this quote, if I may. I just think it encapsulates everything that we've talked about today and discussed. The quote goes like this. Baba says, the humor of the divine love game is that the one who is sought is himself the seeker. It is the sought who prompts the seeker to ask, where can I find him whom I seek? The seeker asking, where is God, is really God saying, where indeed is the seeker? Jai Baba.
Wow.
So you see, it's all him. It is all him. So we just have to learn to be more aware of him, and yes, in whatever we do outside in our lives and whatever comes our way, but also within us to realize that in the end, it's all him. It's him doing this. It's him saying that if we actively have him participate that way in our daily lives, I think it's living what he wants us to live. It's doing what Baba wants us to do, and bringing him more and more into our awareness, more and more into our consciousness. And that way, your life just flows. I mean, today I'm very content in where I am, in who I am and what I'm doing. And I never was that way before. I mean, it took a lot of effort to get here, but I'm happy to say that I'm very content in Baba's love today. And I'm more and more aware of him in every instance, every thing that comes my way, in every waking moment. I think Baba is never far from my thoughts. He's just there. It's like, how can I put this? Like an app running in the background. That's the best way I can describe it to young people today. When you have this app that's running in the back all the time, and even when you shut your phone off, that app is still running in the background. So that's like that. But I'm more aware of it on a conscious level. So,
Can
and
you
that's
repeat the quote? Can you repeat the quotation?
absolutely.
Yes, please.
The humor of the divine love game is that the one who is sought is himself the seeker. It is the sought who prompts the seeker to ask, where can I find him whom I seek? The seeker asking, where is God, is really God saying, where indeed is the seeker? Jai Baba. So shall we end for tonight, or would you prefer to go on? I think this is a good time, or I don't know. I don't know what Jeff would do. It's 11:15 on the East Coast, so I will go as everybody wishes me to.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba to all. Jai Baba.
Thank you.
Jay Baba, thank you very much.
Well, usually we do few minutes silence and then.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you,
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you, Guar.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you. It's a joy to be with all of you always.
The love of God, help us all to love
God.
you more and more
Yes.
and more and more and still yet more until we
Yes.
become worthy of union with you, and help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman until the very end. And the time is Baba Ki Jai.
Har Meher Baba Ki Jai. Har Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
And Nasreen, you take us home.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Thank you.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Thank you, Jai Baba. Thank you.
Does anyone want to sing the 7 names of God?
Right on.
No.
No.